who came straight from London. She works for Meta. Hanan specializes in regulation and emerging tech, Metaverse enthusiast, and passionate about bringing knowledge closer to people about tech and innovation. Merci d'applaudir. Thank you, Hanan. I'm calling Massinissa. Massinissa, who has 29 patents in blockchain metaverse. He worked for big companies and started new blockchain startup. Next, I'm calling Charles. Charles from SiaPartners. He's managing partner of Sia Experience, part of SiaPartners, digital experience specialist and led on metaverse topics, VR, design, sprint and collaboration, digital artifact and associated platforms. Welcome. Then, last but not least, Ali Bouhouch, who was ex-CTO of Sephora and started a lot of startups. He lives between Rabat and San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and he's acting CEO of startups in the metaverse. He's gonna share with us some experiences on how metaverse can leverage retail business. Bienvenue, Ali. We only have 45 minutes, and we have a lot of things to talk about. So we're gonna start with a very quick introduction to metaverse. I know a lot of you are asking questions about what is metaverse, what are we doing with these technologies, etc., etc. So with the team, we've just gathered some information about metaverse so that we can introduce the subject very quickly. But we're gonna talk about regulatory frameworks, public policies, and business cases, okay? So metaverse can be defined as a virtual world where we can live, work, travel, and play, right? It's about bridging reality with virtual, okay? It's the extension of virtualization, and it brings us an immersive world, okay? And the problem or the challenges we got with the metaverse is that, we know how to regulate physical objects, but it becomes very challenging to regulate what is in the virtual world, okay? That's why we have Hanan with us today. And we're gonna start with a very simple question about regulation in the metaverse and how Meta and the governments all over the world are handling this. So before talking about business cases, we will need to have a broad overview from you, Hanan, on regulatory frameworks and how governments and public institutions are tackling the subject. And if a company, let's say any company we have here, and we have CIO of Bank al-Maghrib, if any company here wants to start a business or a product in the metaverse, what are the main concerns, challenges they need to address?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sad, and lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite and for all the organizers. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I'm going to start with one of the sticky points of technology in general. We always tend to think, okay, there is innovation, there is potential, but we also think at the offset of that regulation comes and haunts us as a bit of a, let's say, a downer, I would say, in English. But I think for the metaverse, it's a very exciting technology. Meta obviously works at the forefront of innovation, and we are deploying very important resources, financial and human, to develop the metaverse, and we're not necessarily focusing on regulation. Why? Because technology moves really, really fast, and regulation always plays catch up. It doesn't mean frameworks shouldn't be in place to regulate the activities, but what I see, from my position, what we're concerned with really are the traditional issues that came up with the development of the internet itself as an infrastructure. So the traditional issues are data, safety, security, but then what's new in my view is how to ensure that AI that we're developing for the metaverse is ethical. And this is the subject that concerns a lot of thinkers, academics, regulators equally, and we are trying to interact in that environment to ensure that we're developing ethical AI that will not help regulators haunt us, when we're trying to deploy the technology. I would say that it's not always about, regulating like a specific environment, because if we think about the internet, the way it evolved, from the very beginning, the metaverse is just the next generation of the internet. And I think we all remember how, regulating the internet came about. I believe the same thing is going to apply on the metaverse. It's just going to take a different form. It's not going to be in a different shape, but it will be different in terms of an opportunity now is available to co-create the regulation. We need to make sure that we actually understand the technology that we're trying to regulate, because what happens most of the time, especially in our case, is that regulators just rush to regulate what we do without understanding exactly the core of the technology. It's so important to understand the purpose of it, and in a lot of instances, we help bridge the knowledge gap about what we're trying to do from a simple meeting, with the regulator, and then we're like, oh, okay, that's what you're trying to do. And then it helps a lot better if you're trying to co-create, the frameworks in place. And that applies to fintech in all the other fields that link to the metaverse as an environment where we are hoping we can inject the missing layer in virtual interaction now is immersive. So that's what the metaverse is trying to do, is literally the link between reality and virtual. We're not going to live in the metaverse. We're not planning to make people live in the metaverse. It will be literally that in between that is lacking from our virtual interactions, and hopefully it will also introduce a layer, I'm saying a layer of trust, because also that is what's missing from virtual interactions in the internet. Inherently also, when it was conceived, it didn't cater for the security layer. And I think, fast forward, we learned how security is so important. Now, what do you do if you want to have a business? Do you really need to care about regulation? I would say no. Do not focus on that. And it's not always about the tech. So sometimes we have to look at different components that formulate either the tech or the business model. I think we have to perfect that. We need to understand what we're trying to achieve, and we need to be open-minded as well. It works better when there is an environment or a platform where people are interacting. I'm speaking in simple terms because I know this is what's needed in our context. I'm not going to take you through the complex narrative, for example, of governing decentralized structures based on which blockchain is built. I'm not going to go into the legal implications of deploying because nobody's going to understand or relate to what I'm saying. So keep it simple. It's not always about the technology. Have the platform where you can co-create, interact, and have the opportunity to influence and also be influenced. So, and I would say maybe we can shift to the culture of doing. Doing is important, is obviously much more important than saying. And we need to relate to models that are successful, investing in tech. And those, like the people who get it right, both in the technology and in regulation. And I'm going to stop there. I want to give other colleagues the ground to
Thank you very much,
say what
Hannah.
they need to say.
But it was a great introduction to see how regulatory frameworks apply to the metaverse and the new tech we have. We have 3 fascinating examples of metaverse business cases that we're going to discover together with Massinissa, Charles, and Ali. I will keep Ali at the end because it's an exciting technology where you can smell fragrance through the VR headsets, right? But let's get started with the basics. Massinissa worked for Netflix, YouTube, and a lot of big digital players, and he started a new product that mixes blockchain, metaverse with telecom operators' offerings, right? Yep. Massinissa, could you tell us in quick 10 minutes about the metaverse and the offerings on the telecom operators side?
Yeah. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Dozim, for the invitation. So in my business case, I'm working with telcos and pay TV's operator. And why the telcos are really good entry point to speak about Metaverse because they are the ones that provide you internet. Okay, so if you want to use internet, you have to go to any telecom company, subscribe it, and then you will give access to the internet. So what we are proposing is, a solution to access to the Metaverse, but providing solution for operators to be able for them to enable the Metaverse experience within their solutions, within the services they provide actually. So there are going to be internet plus all the immersive experience and what is Metaverse, all the consumers will be actors of the systems. And this is what we are going to do, and we are experiencing this new way of making additional revenues for operators. So I don't know if there is a lot of operators here on telco here today. No, I don't know. No. So,
could you just explain technically and business-wise how it works?
Just how it works. So there is two cases. Okay, there is one case where it's about the experience. Okay, we are not providing a headset or VR stuff, but in the new Web3 and blockchain stuff, operators today, the operators that use blockchains, they have a lot of NFTs collections or content NFTs that deploy in different blockchains, etc. So what we provide them, and they say, oh man, how can I aggregate all together? There is so many blockchains. I have a lot of NFTs collection. How can I do it? So okay, we can provide you a solution like a federated blockchain managed by the operators and with that they can control all the NFTs that they will enable and allow to use inside their metaverse. Okay, this is one use case. Once you have this, you can make the customers the actor of the systems. So meaning if they are watching ads on the TV, they share, they invite friends to come to join the universe, the metaverse, they can be incentivized for doing that. So we also provide a loyalty program to incentivize all the actors of the systems, operators, and also the users to be able to get tokens, the loyalty token like miles. Okay, you want fly when you take flight, so we are doing the same with the operators. And thanks to that, they can pay, so they subscribe for all the other months, etc. So this is one of the use cases.
So basically, if we have to put it in very simple words, if we have like the miniverse with those operators and we're watching Netflix, we could share our streaming Netflix with others and earn tokens, right? That we can spend elsewhere.
Yes, exactly. But this is one, as I said, we are trying to aggregate. Actually, we are working with a telco which is in Southeast Asia. And which I don't know, but if you know, but Southeast are very fan of NFTs and blockchain, etc. Almost more than 40% of the population has tokens, and so they know very well. And so they have many metaverse ones from Unilever called the uCoinville. I don't know if you know about it. And so they want to say, okay, I want the coin that I gain from my uCoinville to be able to use it into my operator network, to be able to pay their subscription or their TV or their movies. And so this is the stuff that we need to aggregate and make things work.
Massinissa, thank you very much. I think we're going to switch to another business case. The other business case is very corporate business case that you could all use in your companies. So this business case will be shared with Charles, who comes from SIA Experience. It's about how we can leverage Metaverse to enhance collaboration into our companies, but also to use this Metaverse to have immersive experiences with our clients, partners, etc. Charles, up to you.
Thank you, Saad. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, Ozim. Very happy to be here. So, to the point of Massi, the metaverse is really about experiences. It's the internet of experiences, and I would say two big aspects of experiences. Some video game-like environment, like Roblox, Decentraland, Sandbox, where you can actually interact with communities, buy and use NFT, wear artifacts, and pretty much invent a new life and new type of interactions. So there is all this aspect, and I think Massima and also Ali would go deeper into that. But there is also all the aspects about AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality, and especially the one towards collaboration. I would say that today we are at the edge of a big disruption on that, and this has been done by mainly two levers, I would say. So, well, first, obviously, COVID-19. I mean, COVID-19 has been tipping us all simultaneously into remote work from 1 month to the other. This is, I mean, to say one of the biggest impact on our social lives and our way of working. First one, and second one is the performance increase of devices and the price drop, and we'll see that this will emerge even further starting 2025. So at SiaExperience, we've been building some hundreds of design sprints and design thinking sessions on ideation, on innovation, on service design. And prior to the pandemic, our motto was doing innovation, doing design thinking is not possible in remote. We have to get physically together because we have to have like all this sense of interaction, all this sense of like little groups interacting with users, having a very animated session, you know, to actually innovate. Obviously, with the lockdown, we've been obliged to evolve, and we have evolved to remote working and to a hybrid session using whiteboards and tools such as Miro. And this has worked pretty well, actually, throughout 2020-21. But today, we are facing new challenge as we've gone to all of us in remote to actually hybrid working. And I would say plus the fact that we do have now digital or Zoom fatigue, and we also have, we discussed that to the previous session in Future of Work, we also have this sense, after a week of remote working, of loneliness. Some studies, you know, have shown that people keep on, after 3, 4, 5 days of remote working, they keep on standing up, you know, going to the kitchen, trying to find something they don't have, you know, and it's actually human interaction that they're lacking. So about this hybrid working, VR and AR are actually great opportunities for that. So we've been building some augmented virtual reality design session with actual like experts in California, designers in France, actual clients in the UAE and user in the UAE, and you really have this intensity of presence, of way of interacting, social body language and facial language, and you actually are in the same room. It's actually very different from like a video call. And so we actually had some great progress on that, and some very well, some good results. And I would say now it's about this hybrid working. So hybrid working will be more using augmented reality, and augmented reality, then you will be like at the office, but you will actually be at your home, and you'll have the sense of presence with people from your team, but also people from all over the world, actually. Because you could build an office around a specific project, and you would see some new colleagues popping up, you know, when they wake up at in the USA or in the Emirates. And you could actually have then something that is really important also in the way of working is the chances interaction, the random interaction that we all have. You know, it's like making a pause, you know, with someone and discuss how this meeting went, or after a meeting, you know, be able to have other interaction, stuff we don't have with Visio anymore, and we had so much previously. So being not able or not have to commute anymore, and being able to actually like be in your space, but be with others in a seamless way. So on that and device, the Quest 2, I mean, some helmets will provide us to have like actual like physical presence, and also be able to share with people. And just to two other stuff to project us in the future is the fact that so some industry are working on double skin, another skin, where we could actually have interaction with our hands, with all our body. It will be able to interact with us as a reaction of something happening from our environment, but it will also get data on how do we actually feel, and to be able to interact also with the metaverse on how we feel. And this, obviously, and as for CIO people that are probably here in the room, there's all these questions about like platforms, hardwares, but also, of course, data and the data governance behind these, you know, and the specific, very sensitive data. And maybe another projection in the future, avatars. Tomorrow, some companies are working on working use case as our avatar could stay in the workroom and being able to interact and to give some feedback with, for instance, USA companies. So I'm working a lot with California. Pretty much, I go back to bed when they wake up. Well, tomorrow they will be able to work throughout their day with my avatar, and my avatar also being able to respond to them, you know, knowing more and more how I feel, how I react. So this, of course, opens so much question on regulation and on day-to-day interactions.
Thank you very much, Charles. This is fascinating. It means you can literally not work for some hours and pretend you're working. This is very nice.
Because I mean, I don't know anybody who wants to be me, like, you know, trying to build my emotions while I'm not there and just replace me. This is fascinating. By the way, you mentioned all the technologies Meta is working on, like from work rooms to, you know, the Quest 2, which are amazing. Actually, I invite you all to try that, because it's the definition of the metaverse, and
yes.
I hope the technology will reach us soon in Morocco.
Yeah.
Yes.
And really about test, doing a meeting in VR with people around the world. When you take out the helmet, is really at that time when you actually feel the power of it. So yeah.
Thank you, Charles. That was fascinating. I will start this one with imagine yourself. Imagine you put a headset, you know, VR, and then you can smell things. You can smell fragrance, you know, parfum. Vous mettez un casque et vous pouvez sentir le parfum. Ex-CTO of Sephora, Ali, will tell us about the R&D of the startup he's CEO of, SZENTIA, right?
Yes.
And tell us more about how retailers can leverage Metaverse in different ways, especially on the fragrance side.
Fantastic. Thank you. Pleasure actually to be here and to share with you our experiences. The first thing I think we should start with is to see the Metaverse as this continuum, like my colleagues here on the panel have described, and think about the metaverse as being this unfolding of the internet and the unflattening of the internet. Some of you are not old enough to remember the days where the internet actually was about hypertext. That's what HTML stands for, by the way. It's hypertext markup language. And basically, it was invented by scientists who wanted to just share basically their research work in nothing but text. That was the original internet. Then, of course, we augmented it with pictures and suddenly with video, and some of us, our hairs burned out just because we said, oh my God, you could do a video on the internet, right? Today, what we're seeing is actually, in terms of the metaverse, has its origin is actually in another thing that revolutionized the internet, which is gaming. You're not going to understand the metaverse if you don't understand the gaming world. And in the gaming world, actually, is where we started actually blurring this separation between what is virtual and what is real. And it started actually with the little John running to his mommy asking for a credit card, right? Because they need to buy a shield that allows them to go through a certain bridge without being zapped by this monster and what have you, so they can get to the next level of the game, because that will open a new set of experiences. And now you're going to sit there and scratch your head and say, why are we talking about this? I'm sitting here in Morocco. I'm not a big telco. I'm definitely not Meta Facebook, and we're not doing this. So why does this matter to me? And I just want a show of hands. How many of you here work for a company that has customers? You have customers? Okay. Guess what? Do you know what percentage of your customers have been trained by these video games? And therefore, especially the next generation, is going to be meta native. So the next generation of customers that you care about for the growth of your business are actually going to be where? They're not going to be in the mall. They're not going to walk to your store that you spent so much time designing and stuff. They're going to live in their metaverse. And you have to be able to reach them. And you're not going to reach them by doing some gimmicky thing like everybody else does, and I'm going to create this, and it's going to have flashy things and nice pictures, and they may be moving, they may be popping up and down, I may have some loud music, what have you. All of that, they'll tell you, I've been there, I've done that. So what we need to do, and what we're trying to do actually with a company like Essentia, is we're trying to extend the possibilities of what sensations you can experience in the metaverse. Because the more sensations we can bring into that experience, the more we blur the differences between what's real and what's not. And of course, again, this touches off regulatory because, and that's why today we all have you heard about fake news? Right? And today I can show you a video and you would not be able, as a normal person, to differentiate between what parts of the video are actually original captured video versus what parts are actually touched up versus what's 100% synthetic. I can have actually a video that has human beings that don't even exist, that were never born into this world, never touched anything. Yet they're there and they're interacting and so on and so forth. So it creates an amazing set of possibilities, but also an amazing set of challenges as well. And the important thing for you sitting there is to start thinking about what experiences I can start preparing to do that. And for example, if I tell you today, it is possible actually for somebody to smell through the metaverse. And by the way, you don't even need a headset for that. I'm not going to get into the details because I haven't had any of you sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. But basically, what we are leveraging is some amazing scientific research in what is called cross-sensory stimulation. And the simplest example of that is, if you remember as a child, you're climbing a tree and you fall, and if you hit your head bad enough, right? The first thing you're gonna have is you're gonna have a weird taste sensation in your mouth. Anybody has experienced that? Yes. What that is basically going from one sensation of pain, physical pain and muscular pain, and your brain converted that into a sensation on your tongue. And that's an amazing thing, which tells us that actually your sensations actually don't happen in your tongue, they don't happen in your eyes, don't happen in your ears, nor do they happen in your nose, they're happening in your brain. And the brain is an amazing platform now. If we can use this cross-sensory stimulation, now we're starting to find, quote unquote, the DNA of these interactions between sound and smell. So basically, with certain sounds, I can let you not only hear notes, but actually I can let you smell certain smell notes. And that opens up a whole world of possibilities. By the way, some people are thinking from a regulatory perspective, is that manipulation? I have news for you. It is manipulation. But listen to me. It's already being done. And it's done in a way that most of you haven't thought about it. Certain burger chain, I'm not going to name the name, actually has their chimneys designed in certain way, so actually you could smell the French fries almost a mile before you hit the store. And by the way, actually you hit the store, you're already hungry for the burger. Okay? And that's cross-sensory stimulation, right? And it's already happening today. All we're doing is actually we're going to democratize that so that not only you don't need to be a big burger chain to be able to do that, it's going to be literally available to everybody. And that's how I want us to think about the potential of the metaverse. And to get prepared for that, you need to have the foundations of what digital capabilities are. Starting with data, starting with making sure we have the digital literacy within our teams, not just people who work in IT. You need your CEO, of all people, you need your CEO to have minimum digital literacy. And if you, as the IT people, are not educating your CEO about that, shame on you. And that's your responsibility moving from this conference.
Thank you very much, Ali. It was an inspiring speech. Thank you very much. Just Lupin, yes.
Yes, no, I think. Look, this is really great analogy that you presented about the, the chimney from a famous burger, chain. But I also have a local example from Morocco about the guy on the grill in Jama El Fna to loop in customers. He stick a piece of, fat that creates this really nice sensation. It attracts customers. It's the same thing. But how I want to end this, when it comes to looking at the regulatory framework specific to emerging tech, which includes the metaverse, is look at the best practices, the examples in place. There are principles also that have been worked on by OECD. I had the honor to be part of the advisory board of public policy principles. It's a benchmark, report which sets the principles for governments and for policymakers to, be inspired by in order to set the rules. There is also an opportunity to look at the work done by the European Commission. From our region, there is the UAE that are the forefront of innovation when it comes to everything metaverse. They have even a strategy by now. And the best approach, in my view, is to have the sandbox approach, which you mentioned earlier, is that where you really don't control the information or the data or the technology before it's coming to fruition, because then you risk to disrupt innovation in the negative sense of the word. Because disrupting the environment is good, but not when it comes to creating technology. So I think I would like us to be at the forefront of thinking at that level, you know. And I think once we adjust our mindset, I don't want to say change mindset because it's really, really hard, you know, for Morocco to shift from, let's say, the Francophone way of doing things to the Anglophone way of doing things. And that's what will set us really on a completely different layer when it comes to being at the forefront of innovation, technology, and regulation as well. Because you can also be a best practice in that sense if we apply, you know, the principles that needs to be in place so we can all benefit from this revolution in a timely manner. Because remember, we're really still catching up with a lot. Let's not reproduce the same thing that happened with the internet, because I did have conversations with people a long time ago about how the internet is going to be very bad, it's not going to work, nobody's going to use it, but look where we are now. All right? So that's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, Hanan. I just wanted to sum up a bit all what you've said, guys. So the first one, we talked about regulatory frameworks and how companies should jump into the metaverse and not asking lots of questions at first, right? The second one, Massinissa shared with us how telecom operators can use and leverage metaverse and blockchain in order to create new business opportunities. And Charles, I will remember this because if I have an avatar in the metaverse that works for me, you know, when I am sleeping, I would love to watch him working at my place, you know, every day. I would ask him questions about how he's answering all the questions I'm going to answer as well.
You may lose your job to him. Be
Exactly.
careful.
And last and not least, we've seen with Ali how we can leverage the metaverse to go beyond image and sound to smell and other sensories, right? Thank you very much, guys. It was a wonderful panel, and I've learned a lot. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Just pour info, you have 15 minutes if you want to ask any questions, but individually. So you can see Hanan, Massinissa, Charles and Ali for all the questions you have. Thank you, guys.